In our last video, we demystified narcissism and defined it as a general term for what happens when we split ourself into two, the false self and the shadow self. Our first question is, why even bother trying to heal narcissism, since often the personas we show the world afford us opportunities and special treatment? Woohoo! What's the problem? First, most of the things we develop our false self around are unstable. Good looks fade, idealized partners leave or become frustrating or dull, businesses and markets change, financial stability can uproot, our bodies wither, admirers tire and move on, unless we keep up our glamorous persona, which eventually begins to feel exhausting and hollow. We continue to distract ourselves with work, alcohol and drugs, competition, sex, romance, social media, TV series, food, interpersonal dramas, all to avoid moments of quiet and solitude, when often a feeling of emptiness or depression starts to creep in. This hole will only persist, and our need for validation will become exhaustingly demanding because, like a dog chasing its own tail, we feed our false selves to continue denying our shadow selves, the very part of us that needs to be known and seen to heal. So, what can be done? The goal, at least, is simple. We need to reunite our two split selves by facing and then embracing the shadow self. How do you face part of yourself if you've repressed it so deeply that you haven't known it exists? There's no fast and easy solution, but don't despair. Realize that this is a heroic undertaking, as you're working to reverse damage that has not only affected you, but has likely been inflicted over generations in your family. Sifting through your history and childhood is one way to access buried feelings. Patience is key. It takes time and diligence and is best done with the help of a professional or a supportive network. You might seek out a therapist, support groups, religious and spiritual communities, 12-step recovery programs. Additionally, through exercises such as regular free writing, freestyle art, yoga, and meditation, insights into repressed feelings can often arise, and there's research being done on the guided use of psychedelic substances for similar purposes. There are theories that the people we feel romantic infatuation towards often represent aspects of our shadow selves, as can feelings of repulsion and judgment towards others. So paying attention to these feelings can give us clues. It's important to understand that that which we've repressed never went away, it's just hidden, and it tends to surface in tricky ways without our conscious awareness, which we'll talk about more in the next video. So, we've uncovered some of these repressed parts of us, and a lot of them aren't pretty. What now? Remember, the shadow self split off in the first place because as children, we were taught that certain parts of who we are were not acceptable. That voice lingers in our heads as adults, so we must do what our caregivers couldn't: accept the shadow self unconditionally. This means looking the shadow self in the eye and standing firmly through our discomfort and disgust with this rejected half of us, as we realize that in addition to being sparkly and awesome, we are also, at times, boring, lazy, mean, greedy, scared, pitiful, and annoying, and that's okay. Hold space for that part of you to be. Give it permission to exist. Note that acceptance does not mean allowing ourselves to act on all of the whims of the shadow self. We may notice and accept that we have a desire to, say, punch our boss in the face, but there's a difference between accepting and not judging the desire, and calmly acknowledging that this would not be a great idea to act upon, versus thinking we are terrible people for even having that thought. In accepting our shadow selves, we let go of perfectionism, another manifestation of narcissism, realizing it's okay to be average, it's okay to make mistakes, and even to be disliked by other people sometimes. It's okay to just do our best. It's also okay to feel angry, scared, sad, and to cry as we realize this self. We're grieving all of the past time that we weren't able to fully be ourselves. To some, being average may feel like giving up. In Western cultures, we're taught that not only can we rise above others, we should. But rising above is an illusion, as we know on some level from rare moments when we truly understand the relative briefness of our existence within the vastness of the universe, that the position we hold in our office or what type of car we drive are ultimately trivial. This is one reason Buddhist mantras often include reminders of mortality. That we are all going to die does not have to be a depressing fact, but a freeing one that allows us to realize how deeply unimportant any daily action we take may be in the grand scheme of things. Thus, we can relax a little about not being perfect and live a little more lightheartedly and in the moment. None of this means that in ditching our narcissism, we must adopt nihilism and that we'll have no motivation to do anything. On the contrary, as we progress in uniting our split selves, we're less driven to do things that help us think well of ourselves to ease our insecurities. Instead, we become more free to explore our real interests and needs, sometimes interests and needs we are delighted to find we didn't even know we had. We may find we become more successful at accomplishing tasks and learning new things because we're doing them for the enjoyment of it, rather than as a means to an end. Many people find new or renewed interests in artistic or physical expression and learn how to take themselves less seriously.
La, la, la.
In essence, life becomes more playful, delightful, and loving. We no longer feel that we need to be better than others to overcompensate for our feelings of low self-worth. And love evolves from an unspoken contract with risks and rewards into an enjoyable way of connecting with another creature over your shared existence at this moment. Want to learn more about how narcissists can learn empathy and how we can better the world? Stay tuned for our next video and keep an eye on what you're feeding that hungry id.